Hi folks, Tim Rutlidge here. Just letting you know that this is the final episode for Season 5 of This is Public Broadcasting, and this summer I'll be taking a much needed break, but I will be releasing little videos here and there throughout the summer months. In the meantime, considering that this has been 5 years of This is Public Broadcasting on YouTube, I've decided to do another Q&A live stream this summer, Saturday, July 2nd. If you have any pressing questions to ask, please leave them in the comments below, and I hope to answer them in the future. So in the meantime, keep your feet on the ground, your head held high, pray for rain, and keep the humor dry. And on with the disclaimer. Hello and welcome to another episode of TiPB Tidbits, where we examine those small yet memorable scenes of public television history. Today, we're doing something different. Despite being a mainstay of American culture for over 52 years, many Americans have very little understanding of how PBS works. So today I'd like to debunk a few common PBS myths. Let's get the ball rolling with a pretty common myth. PBS is just a kid's channel. This was a pretty common thing to hear when I was a teenager. I brought up watching PBS and some jerk would say, "God, what are you, 3 years old?" True, many PBS stations show children's programming during the daytime via PBS Kids, but a decent chunk of programming on the network is aimed at adult audiences. Think shows like This Old House, Antiques Roadshow, or even Masterpiece. I really don't think children are the target demographic for shows on home improvement, antique appraisal, or British drama. As for the children's programming, some shows are definitely aimed at preschool viewers, but a good portion are also aimed at the elementary school demographic. Think of Arthur or Odd Squad or even Wildcrats. Heck, back in the day, they even had programming aimed at pre-teens like Ghost Rider or Wishbone. And some shows are just as enjoyable to older viewers or parents. Moving on, another common myth I keep hearing is how PBS directly produces its own shows, or every show is produced in a single PBS-owned studio. Again, not entirely true. Unlike other networks like ABC, NBC, or CBS, PBS does not have a dedicated studio system for show production. Instead, shows are produced by individual production companies and public television stations. PBS can then choose to add these shows to its programming lineup, order the programming, then distribute it to member stations for our viewing pleasure. Other shows can be distributed by American Public Television. As for the British sitcoms you often see on your local station, those are purchased directly from the BBC, Channel 4, ITV, or any other British TV network or production company that owns the rights. As for funding, there are a few critics who claim that funding for PBS takes up a bit too much of the national budget.
I like PBS. I love Big Bird. I actually like you too. But I'm not gonna keep on spending money on things to borrow money from China to pay for.
Major funding from PBS comes direct from the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. The Corporation for Public Broadcasting is a nonprofit corporation funded by the US government and allocates 70% of its funding to the various PBS member stations across the country. The amount of funding requested for 2021 amounted to $515 million. According to the CPB website, this amounts to as little as $1.35 per American per year. Of course, this does not take into account other government-allocated funding, such as from the National Endowment for the Humanities or the National Science Foundation. Furthermore, government funding only accounts for about 15% of PBS fundraising. The majority of funding is sourced from individual viewers like you. Speaking of which, when you pledge private support to PBS stations, your donation does not go directly to PBS itself. Rather, when you make a pledge, your pledge goes to your local PBS member station. From there, it can help cover operating costs, administrative expenses, and programming purchases. Now for some more random PBS myths that I often hear. For example, the idea that Jim Henson was the big brains behind Sesame Street. Sure, he was instrumental in its creation and developed the great Muppet characters we all know and love, but that sidelines the important work of Joan Gamps Cooney and Lloyd Morissette behind the scenes of the Children's Television Workshop. Jim Henson was just brought in as an afterthought.
So then, with Mike's advice, we got on to Dave Connell and hired Dave, and Dave was exactly the right person. He also knew Jim Henson and suggested that here was an interesting puppeteer who we should take a look at.
For more information, feel free to check out my history of Sesame Street video. Back in the day, there was a persistent myth circulating around the internet of how Fred Rogers was a former Navy SEAL and wore sweaters to cover his tattoos. Not true. Both the Navy SEALs and Rogers' close friends and family have denied these rumors. Apparently, this was all started because of a Marine sharpshooter also named Fred Rogers. But our Mr. Rogers never served in the military. And to round out the list, there has long been a rumor about a lost episode of Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego called Auld Lang Gone that had never aired on PBS. The episode suffered numerous issues like Lynn Thigpen absent with a sore throat, a contestant in the final round breaking her leg, and the episode runner-up accidentally ripping host Greg Lee's jacket. In 2020, an investigator from Buzzer Blog looked into these rumors, even contacting the show creators and the WGBH and WQED archivists, but it turns out that the episode never existed.
There's one more thing I want you to do. You know what it is? Do it, Rockapella!
So, those are a few common PBS myths cleared up for you guys. Hopefully they will go to give a clearer picture of public television in the US. Speaking of which, time to move on to the PBS Member Station Spotlight. This time we're going to look at Kentucky Educational Television. KET was started by O. Leonard Press, a member of the University of Kentucky faculty. Originally established as a public television station for the university, Press and his associates later planned for a statewide public television service in the same veins as Alabama Educational Television. In 1962, Press became executive director for the Kentucky Authority for Educational Television, and in 1965, Ashland Oil CEO Paul Blazer donated 13 transmitter sites to the authority, allowing Kentucky Educational Television to finally hit the airwaves in 1968. For the first 2 years, KET was a member of the National Educational Television Network before moving to the Public Broadcasting Service in 1970. In 1982, KET set up KET Enterprises to develop, acquire, and distribute programming between PBS and itself, and in 1996, the authority acquired the license to WKPC Louisville, rebranding the station as WKMJ. In 1999, KET became the first digital television station in the state of Kentucky, eventually moving to full digital broadcast in 2009. Programming for KET includes local programs such as Comment on Kentucky, Wood Songs, Kentucky Afield, Louisville Life, Kentucky Collectibles, and Kentucky Life. Today, KET offers public television programming to the entirety of the state of Kentucky, along with bordering states in the Ohio River Valley. If you're in Kentucky, you can tune in to KET on these stations, with KET2 on the .2 channel, the Kentucky channel on the .3 channel, and PBS Kids on the .4 channel, while WKMJ carries KET2, the Kentucky channel, and World. Thank you to everyone for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If so, feel free to like, subscribe, and share, ring the bell, follow on Twitter. Also, don't forget to support your local PBS stations. Some more great programming can find its way to your television screens. And that wraps it up for this season, and until next time, I'm Captain Rutlidge. Good day.